All right, guys, welcome back to the podcast. I am sitting here with Ryan Skrzypkowski.
That's perfect.
I didn't have to go Ryan S, which is originally what I thought I was gonna have to do. But
pretty much known as the guy with like in my market, I'm known as Ryan with the name that nobody can pronounce.
with the name, but
yeah.
But it's a differentiator, right? So,
I guess so.
Like, I'm the only Byron Lazine in America.
That's interesting.
One of one.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, it makes Google searches pretty cool.
It makes it very easy, and I
Yeah.
can get my handle on any new social media account that ever comes out. So,
Yeah.
I'm pumped about that.
Absolutely.
But I'm also pumped that you were able to spend some time with us this morning and tell everybody where you're working, what marketplace you're in, your like a little background story, maybe how you got into the business, something like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we'll jump into it.
Okay, so Sarasota, Florida is my market area. Sarasota, Florida is it's kind of a small city just on the south, just south of Tampa Bay on the Gulf Coast. It's actually a really cool market because you've kind of got this. It's lined with barrier islands. So what's nice about selling real estate in a place like that is you've got like three rows of waterfront property, if you like. You've got the you've got like the intercoastal, looking east and west on each side, and then you've got the beachfront property on the front. So that's really nice. Been in the business for about 3.5 years, so not a tremendous amount of time. I'm kind of I was so what happened? It was I got licensed in February of 2015. So it was kind of 15 was like a partial year for me, and
in Sarasota that was a tremendous market.
Yeah, it was a really good time, although it took,
which can be difficult coming in, no?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it was I didn't really know what I was doing in the beginning, but I pretty much. In fact, this is quite interesting actually, and something that I don't get into all the time. But Teresa was actually in the business before me, so I basically decided that I wanted to get into the business, and it was.
Teresa, did you say get out of the business, stay out?
Of course I did.
Teresa.
And you're like, get the fuck out.
This is home time. And like, this is not work. Like, go away.
I love it.
She made me join a different brokerage. She was like, this is my deal, Ryan. You're not going to come in and step on my toes here. She's a very independent woman, and so she made me join a different brokerage.
Which I would say though, Teresa, you probably agree now though that was a limited mindset.
Oh, completely.
Yeah, 100%. Because there's so many deals out there.
Stubborn and,
yeah.
Well, it
100%.
was the best thing that could have happened for us, because I basically agreed with my wife Teresa that I would only go after people that didn't know us. So I know that Tom always says don't be a secret agent in the beginning, but I was a secret agent.
Yeah.
I kind of so from day one, expireds and for sale by owners was my thing, and and that was something that Teresa wasn't utilizing. She was doing a lot of work with our personal circle, and just people that knew us. So that was.
She was telling your friends Ryan's the worst agent. Don't talk to him.
Pretty much. Don't talk to this guy. Yeah. So there was a lot of competition for us in the beginning, and then what eventually happened was Teresa basically got pregnant with our first son, and and at that time.
Got you.
Yeah. Well, actually, I got her, and I was like, okay, now you've got no choice. You can't show buyers anymore. Now you've got to join me. So we joined forces, and then the business really exploded. We went from 2015, not a lot happened, and then 2016 was really my first full year in the business, and we went from doing, both of us weren't really doing too much, and we did 20 million in volume in that year, and and it's pretty much been going on from there. So 2016 was great. 2017, 2018, we're on track to we should do 50 million this year.
What's the market look like right now in Sarasota, like currently?
There's a little pressure on our market right now, to be honest. We're seeing days
Hearing
on market build up
a lot this week from people.
Really?
By the way.
It's interesting.
A lot of people. Different pockets of the country. Ooh, a little bit slow. Like I was talking to Corey from Vegas, like 23% increase in inventory, like in a month.
Yeah.
So you're seeing weird things.
Absolutely.
Which is interesting, something to pay attention to. Your market, by the way, I love. So I used to go down to Siesta Key every October growing up. My grandparents, they used to live in Venice. Now that they're they're in that same area now, but they have timeshares for the whole month of October in
Right.
Siesta Key, Sandpiper, and another one, and just love Sarasota and that whole area.
It's a cool
And
place.
It's growing it's changed so much over the years. so.
Absolutely.
You're in my opinion, the Gulf Coast of Florida is the best market to be in over the next 20 years.
Yeah, I think so as well. I mean, I think that there's, I think that, I think it's so. Who knows what's coming? Who knows what's coming for the future for us? I mean, it's there's going to be a lot of pressure on the market from so many different angles. Obviously, the brokerage model we're going to see completely change. The role of the agent is probably going to completely change, and just in terms of what's going to happen. Where are people going to move to? But I do think that just with the situation that we're in right now with with baby boomers in the Northeast and the Midwest, I do think that a lot of those people will find their way to Florida, and I think that will definitely help our market.
I think it's like Sarasota 'cause it's such a great market. Naples, where I spend a lot of time in Naples every winter.
Yeah.
I'm so passionate about that. I think they'll go and go ahead and double that population again over the next 5 to 10 years.
I agree.
Because there are so many baby boomers. And it'll be interesting to see where prices go and if that actually happens, right? If the economy drops, how many people can afford to sell from the Midwest or the Northeast and actually make that move.
Yep.
But I am really bullish as long as some hurricane doesn't come and just wipe everything out.
And that's a risk. I mean, in the whole red tide thing at the moment, that's, I literally had a $3 million buyer that was interested in Sarasota, was very, very close to coming down there. And I know that if he would have just come and, saw what the place was, I know that he would have fallen in love with it, but he ended up cancelling his trip due to, the red tide.
Because the red tide, but that always happens. I mean, that's like one of those.
Yeah, but it's been worse this year than ever before, and they've got to come up with some kind of a, solution. I guess that it's, the theory is that it's, water that's being pushed out from the Okeechobee, and it's kind of polluting the water should filter through the.
Is that
the
up and down?
Everglades.
Is that in what I consider God's country, Naples? Is that happening there?
Yeah, kind of. Not as not as bad, but certainly Sarasota down to Fort Myers and out the other coast as well. Vero Beach area. Basically water's being pushed out throughout the sides of the state instead of filtering down through the Everglades. And I think that Naples is probably in a better position, but but it needs to be fixed.
So let's switch gears a little bit. For those that maybe we're here in Anaheim, right? And the Tom Ferry Summit here is going on. And so for those that aren't in the ecosystem, maybe didn't watch the live cast, you just spoke in front of 5,000 people in the room and another 20,000+ people online. Yeah. Tell us about that experience. Give us a little recap for those that missed it on your talk.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So yeah, I mean, absolutely insane. I mean, I've never been in.
I'll venture to guess that was the biggest room.
Absolutely,
right?
Absolutely. Yeah, it was insane. I mean, I've done a few panels on like Tom Ferry events before, but nothing like that. I mean, the panels are quite easy. There's usually 3 people up there, and everybody kind of bounces off each other. So actual talking time is probably less than a couple of minutes. Versus this was I think I ended up talking for like 25 minutes. But essentially, what it was a year ago. Tom Ferry basically challenged me to book 100 appointments from the end of Summit to from the end of Summit last year,
which is August time frame for those that aren't familiar, right? So mid-August.
It was a little later last year, I think.
It was the end of August.
Yeah, it was. So it was basically from September to the end of the year. So
4 months.
Yeah, about I calculated it to be about 90 working days. So it was pretty aggressive, but we the whole presentation was basically about us achieving that. We basically booked 102 appointments within that time, and our business grew substantially. We had about a 320% increase in GCI in the first 6 months of this year versus the first 6 months of last year.
So the challenge was 100 appointments. You did 102.
Did 102, correct.
Do you believe if Tom Ferry said, Ryan, the goal is going to be 150, that you would have done 150 too?
I've said that to so many people, right? And I've said that it's so interesting when you focus in on that goal that's it's that is what you ultimately end up achieving. And yeah, 100%. I mean, if you look at my numbers, I had 4.6 conversations per day during those 90 working days. And that is weak. That is not a, we knocked it out of the park on results, but I definitely feel like there's a lot more
You
there.
thought you left some on the table.
Absolutely, and that's something that we'll address going forward.
What were like? Give us, we don't have to go through the whole thing, but
Yeah.
give us like just maybe the top 2 hacks in creating, because that is an enormous amount of appointments.
It
so
was.
What are like your number 1 or top 2 hacks to do that?
Yeah, so I definitely think that in the presentation I actually did the essentially the 10 lessons for me during the process, and there was certain things that I needed to implement as I guess going on I underestimated what going on 100 appointments actually meant, and the work that's required to actually maintain those relationships. And I would advise that so now we have a foolproof follow-up process, so that when we have a lot of automations, and we have a very specific plan that we follow once we've gone on an appointment, to ensure that we continue to follow up with people over time. I'm a Follow-Up Boss user, and in Follow-Up Boss it's called an action plan, but I know that all CRMs would have their own version of that. But I was basically going on appointments and making these amazing connections, and then not following up with them a month down the line, and it's and stuff like that.
Because you get into that, like, I got to get to the 100 appointments, so I'm just setting appointments. I mean, I've definitely been guilty of this. 4 appointments maybe on a listing appointment, whatever they are.
Yep.
On a Tuesday, you have another appointment on Wednesday. You get to Thursday, like, who did I even talk to on
Absolutely.
Tuesday? Like,
Absolutely.
like, did I get back to them? Did I not? Like,
so much happens in a day in real estate. Like, it's sometimes difficult to remember who you had a conversation with that morning. So it's so important to have a process that continuously reminds you to whether it's send a bonbon video to this person you met with them a month ago. Actually, now we have I didn't talk about this on stage, but I think this is really interesting. We've got this really cool integration with a company called Handwritten, and Handwritten is basically a company in Phoenix, Arizona. They've got I don't know how big they are, to be honest, but they've got these machines that basically just hold a regular Bic pen, and
it's real ink.
It's real ink, and so we basically what's cool about Handwritten is it has an API that integrates with Zapier, and Zapier obviously links with most CRMs. So now what we do is so if I make contact with somebody, there's a series of handwritten letters that are sent out to them. Just really simple. Really enjoyed my time on the phone with you. Looking forward to connecting again in the future. Give me a call if you need anything whatsoever. And then 2 weeks later, we'll have another handwritten note that's that thanks them for our conversation 2 weeks ago. And then 2 weeks later, there'll be another handwritten note that says, it was a month ago since we were on the phone. I want you to know that that your conversation's still in my mind. And and if and if it gets to the point where you want to talk to a real estate agent about the sale of your home, then please call me on this number. So just really simple generic stuff, but I get more compliments on those handwritten notes. And that's been really good for us. So we can literally just tag a customer with a particular code which initiates that.
What's the average age in your market? Let's go with sellers. What do you think the average age is?
Yeah,
for sellers?
it's pretty old in Florida. It's definitely the retirement capital of the country.
So a handwritten letter is ROI positive.
They love it. Yeah. I'll often, and I don't. In fact, just recently, within this past week, I had one gentleman that said, that he was so happy that I could write as beautifully as I could, and it was a bit embarrassing, to be honest. I didn't really know how to answer it, and I was just like, oh, thank you, but I don't. It's more of being able to scale a process that makes people happy.
But putting the I wouldn't be embarrassed by that, because I think putting the process in to let somebody know that you appreciate their time, right? That's what you're doing there, because there are a lot of agents that just don't even have that process in place, right?
100%,
So
absolutely.
yeah, I mean, I don't care if you're training a monkey to write it. Like, it's the fact that you took the step to make sure they were delivered something.
Absolutely.
Them.
It's absolutely. I love the mix of technology and technology and just classic methods. I've actually got I've got a typewriter, and I haven't done a lot of it lately actually, and because it's difficult to scale. But if there was a company that did this, I would absolutely use them. But I love writing people a letter on a typewriter. In a previous life, I actually used to work for a bank, and I had this. I had this older gentleman who was really appreciative for the service that I'd given to him, and he actually wrote me a letter that he'd actually written on a typewriter, and it's the only one that I'd ever received, and it was so authentic. He'd made spelling mistakes, and then he'd like retyped over those, or like written the.
So they're like the one thing that is there's a lot of time involved.
There's a lot of time involved, absolutely. But I just love the idea of reaching people that way.
How long have you lived in the States?
Almost 10 years.
10 years.
Yeah.
Do you believe that that's been a challenge at all in generating business? I'm just curious.
Yeah, no, I think that mentally, I mean, the way that the country operates in the UK is very different to the United States, and I think it took me a long time to kind of become American mentally and kind of just understand the dynamics of the economy, and but now I forget that I've got an accent. I don't feel like I'm any different whatsoever until obviously people pick up on it. I think that there's we have been successful, and I know that there's a lot of people that put our success down to having an accent and being different on the phone. I definitely think that there's an element of that, but there's also there's a lot of English people in our market that really don't do any business whatsoever. And it's I don't think that it matters. It's just a case of doing the work, making the calls, and doing doing the actions that we know that we understand create business.
Lucy on our team, she's from she has a thick accent because she's from Slovakia, and I'm always like, Lucy, this is an advantage because
absolutely
because she's a listing agent, right? And so when you're a listing agent, you need to control the room, and I'm like, Lucy, you already get everybody's attention right off the bat, which is what you want, right? You want to be able to control that room. So but some people would use that maybe as a limiting belief, right?
Yeah, absolutely, and it's difficult to, sometimes it's difficult for, certainly in our market, there's a lot of, like as you said, older people, and and sometimes people can't understand me.
Of course, I think the biggest disadvantage would be that all those years of you creating relationships in your youth, you can't really leverage most of them in your marketplace.
Absolutely, and it's
What's the average commission split in the UK for everyone that doesn't understand that?
Do you know much about the
I
real
know
estate
it,
market in
but
the UK?
I don't know exactly what it is, but I know a little bit about it. What do you?
It's probably 1%, 1%.
What? That's 1%.
Yeah.
Total.
Well, and there's no buyer representation. It's just everybody's essentially a listing agent, and it's just such a strange industry there. Knowing how the industry here works in the US, it really couldn't be more different.
If you had a crystal ball,
it's
2025. What are the commission splits in America?
And that's a good question. I think that we're going to see. That's a good question. I think that we're going to see more and more discount brokers in our marketplace. I think that there's probably going to be options for people that want something like what we have in the UK, perhaps. Some 1% listings, or flat fee listings, or whatever. But I also truly believe that there's a large part of the population that sees value in what a real estate agent provides, and and I think that we'll still see 6% agents then as well.
You'll still see 6 in 2025.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. In a certain.
And you do the luxury market.
Yeah.
So I 100% agree with you there.
I don't get a lot of I don't get a lot of pressure on what we charge. I mean, we're a 6%, we're a 6% brokerage, a 6% team. What we do is it's what we do for our clients is way above and beyond what any other agents do in our area. So I see us being a fantastic value at that. But I also believe that I think that it's going to be difficult to lose the 3% for buyers agents. I think that the reductions are going to be on the listing side.
That's interesting. So I'm on the other side of that fence.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Here's what I think. I think that the buyer agents are extremely vulnerable on the next downturn, because I think that technology will be able to replace certain features, right, of what a buyer agent does. Not in the luxury market. But certainly in the average price point, certainly in vacant homes. I think if you look at what Open Door is doing, and MLS is in the country right now, where a buyer can go and they can take the selfie, they can upload their driver's license, they can put in some information, and they can access the house on their own. So I think that, okay, if I can access a listing on my time, if it's frictionless, I certainly, every time I go to Naples, everywhere, I'm looking at property, just like getting in and out of property. If I could do that without my buyer agent friend, my agent friends, I would go do it, right? Because I want to do it on my time. I got other things to do when I'm down there. And certainly buyers, want to do things on their time. So I believe that, like, in the UK, you said it, you're either a listing agent or you're not.
Yeah, absolutely, and all of that goes to the listing agent. The models that I've seen that have ran that way, or or consumers that have used that kind of service, and you perhaps know a lot more about this than me, but that usually if somebody's working without a buyer agent, they want that commission in their pocket, even as a consumer buying a property. I don't have an agent, so
they don't want to go direct and see the listing agent get the full 6.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's and I've seen certain models where the buyer agent gets perhaps 0.5%, and then 2.5% goes back to the person that's actually buying the property. And we actually just had a brokerage in our area that came up with this really strange model. They called it the 3% plus 1, and what it was basically they would list a house for 3%, and then they would offer $1 in the MLS to somebody that brings a buyer, and and it was just, I don't know, like you just as an agent you would just it would just be a nightmare for a buyer to want to put one of those properties on your on their showing list, and it's
because now the buyer's agent's negotiating with the buyer for their commission.
Correct. And and there's really no, there's, in our area we don't see a lot of, buyer broker agreements. It's, so that that buyer's agent would literally be representing that seller for $1, I guess. It's, it's going to be really interesting to see what the future brings.
Yeah. What do you think the biggest disruptor is? So, I mentioned Open Door. I think people obviously view them as a disruptor. I don't know if like Purple Bricks is in your market or
Purple Bricks is coming into our market, and that's a UK company. I mean, they've disrupted the UK market in a really big way.
Really?
Yeah, massively. They've taken over the market there, and that's now that
like taken over like big market share.
Yeah, and I don't know what the numbers are, but they've put a lot of pressure on the traditional brokerage that we saw in the UK, and now Purple Bricks are obviously coming out. There's a lot that I like about them. I think that they're take the model away. I think that the branding's pretty cool. I think that the name is kind of I like it, but I don't. There's a lot of competition for that space right now. There's a lot of companies coming into the market that are doing something similar to that.
And it doesn't have to be those companies, but do you believe it's companies like that? Do you believe it's, I heard a great Tom Toole said the other day, he goes, the biggest disruptor is real estate agents themselves.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It could be Zillow, right? Like Jason Ferris was like, I think Zillow's the biggest disruptor
right, okay.
because they're a giant and they have more money than most of
Absolutely,
these brokerages
absolutely.
combined.
Yeah.
What do you really think is our?
Yeah,
and
so-
I'm not fear mongering or anything like that. But like,
Yeah.
What do you
No,
think
not
we
at
should pay
all. I
attention
think
to
this
the
is a great
most?
conversation. But quite honestly, I find it really, really difficult to answer. I do. I see so many conflicting. I see so many conflicting things. I think that there's going to be huge changes to our industry. What those changes are exactly, I think it's difficult to say. I think that there's going to be a lot of pressure on our commissions going forward. I actually think that the brokerage of the future is probably a 100% model for a 100% model for agents. I think that a brokerage that cuts the fat and gives the agents the ability to grow a team however they see fit. Although the problem with that, as I see, is the 100% model as a brokerage. It doesn't attract the best agents, and there's a lot of.
Well, you're in 100% country, right? Like Florida's like got all these 100%
Yeah,
models.
there's a lot of them, but if you compare it, if you just look at what those agents do sometimes, I mean, it's the level of service that they're offering the customers is really terrible. And what you generally see is so they're generally the discounters in our marketplace. So they're essentially passing their discount onto a brokerage. So they might be listing properties at 1.5%, which is essentially giving 50% back to the whoever they've got the property listed for. But I mean, it's I'm not sure if I can make complete sense of that.
Well, I think at the end of the day, nothing's going to take 100% of the market.
Yeah.
Right. So if your value proposition is worth 6, 7, 5, you're going to get it. Especially if you're playing in the Lux or above that. I think there's going to forever and always be people that will pay for certain things. There was a company, I think they were photography, something like that, whatever they were. Literally, they put out their prices like, we've got to be competitive. So they put their prices under their competitor.
Right.
And they got no calls.
Yeah, really.
And I think this is a photography company or something. But anyways, then they're like, what the heck? Nobody's calling us. They're like, let's go like 5 times what our competitors charge. And then the phone wouldn't stop ringing. They were in the wedding business. And here's why. I think that like when you're getting married, you're like, I'm going to spend a lot of money because this is going to be the most important day of my life.
Absolutely.
And if somebody's not charging a lot of money,
Yeah.
then maybe the quality's not going to be that great. So then they look at, okay, who are the top 3 highest price, and let me pick one of those.
Absolutely.
So I think that mindset's always going to be around, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree. And it's I go back and forth a lot on this, and I'm sorry for not having any clear answers. And it's more that I just don't have them in my own mind. But I think that we're going to see one or two things happen. I think that we're going to see either a lot of different options for consumers and for consumers to have for them to be able to choose how they want to go about selling their home or buying their home. But then there's also examples of in so many markets where you kind of have this winner takes all scenario where one company will disrupt the marketplace in such a way where it makes other companies or it becomes very difficult for others to compete. I mean, take the phone industry, for example. How many different operating systems did we used to have? Now we have 2. We've got iOS and Android, and that's that's it. And every and I've seen reports that people believe that it will literally be either basically 2 companies, perhaps Amazon and Keller Williams, or it's
Gary Keller would appreciate you saying that.
I know, but I mean, I don't necessarily think that's the case.
Zillow,
but
Amazon.
it is. Yeah.
Zillow, you're in one of the most competitive Zillow markets in the country in Florida.
Yeah.
The spend is ridiculous. Do you have a big spend? And where do you think Zillow's going? I mean, just this week while we were out here, they bought that mortgage company.
Yeah.
are you playing that game, and how do you think they're going to change and evolve over the next few years?
Yeah, so on actual paid Zillow ads, we spend about $3,000 a month. We have a couple of other packages with excuse me.
That's all right.
We have a couple of other packages with Zillow as well, and those packages, actually one of them I really like, and we were kind of grandfathered in with this. They don't offer this anymore, but we get exclusive marketing on our listings, which is absolutely amazing.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I love that. And there's and then we also do like the whole video, specific zip code advertising, and I think so our actual spend with Zillow is probably about $4,000 a month. I mean, my vision for the future for us is to be primarily to me as in this industry, the very best leads that come to us are the leads that come in on our listings. That's our number one lead source. We do more business with buyers that call on our listings than anybody else, whether it's representing both sides of our transaction. Luckily we can do that in Florida, or it's them calling on our listings, and us making that connection with them and ultimately selling them something else. But in terms of Zillow, we've really found it difficult to make a profit on Zillow, on our Zillow ad spend over this past year, and that that may be us. I mean, that I don't. I know that there's a lot of people in our marketplace that do get a lot from the Zillow ad spend, but we certainly don't. And as time goes on, I see that budget shrink for us, and for us to just go all in on generating as many listings as possible.
And building your brand, because you'll always be able to keep that.
Correct, 100%. Right? Yeah,
and correct. There are people, I'm sure, in your marketplace spending $40,000-$50,000 a month on Zillow, and I think that those are the most vulnerable, and it'll be interesting to see what happens to Zillow, because if they're relying on that and the market shifts, the first thing they're going to do is cut back on their Zillow spend.
Absolutely.
And when agents across the country are cutting back on their Zillow spend, and they're trying to make earnings, what is their next move? Zillow's.
Yeah.
When their backs to the wall, it'll just. I mean, none of us have the answer, obviously, to that.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. 3.5 years in, 4 years in, 3.5 years in.
Yeah, 3. Yeah. Yep.
So, your number one piece of advice,
yeah.
if there's a new agent listening to this, is it join coaching? We're in Tom Ferry coaching. We're certainly not pushing that. There's plenty of coaches out there. There's some new ones coming up that are interesting. There's some old school ones. Is it join a team? Is it start building brand right away? Is it build database? Number one piece of advice to a new agent.
My number one piece of advice for a new agent would be to I think just to understand what an opportunity that so if somebody's got into this business, you've created a tremendous opportunity for yourself, to even step into this business, and you literally go to work every day and write your own paycheck. I don't think that there isn't many other industries out there that are like this, where you can the odds are against you. The chances are you're gonna fail, but
it's about 90% chance.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 90% chance that you're gonna fail, but if you're willing to put the work in, and if you're willing to, and it's, I think a lot of people overcomplicate it. When I say put the work in, I mean either go out and knock on doors or make phone calls. It's and reach as many people as possible. It's not, we'll do over $1 million this year in GCI, and that's. And I think that we've left a lot on the table, and I think that we could have done this quicker. So I think just understanding the opportunity that you have, and understanding how important every minute of your day is, but also understand that that you've got to maximize every minute throughout the day, but also not expect a return from that for perhaps a year or 18 months.
I think where you're going is super interesting. I think that new agents get in and they're like, well, I don't want to give up my life balance. I'm not going to give up my life here just because I'm joining real estate. And I think where you're going is like,
Byron, this is your life.
You're coming in as an independent contractor if you're a new agent. That's called a business. Whether you're a solo agent working on somebody's team, whatever it is, that's a business. And
You've
if
just
you're
hit a huge point there, and the fact that you've got to see it as a business and not as a job. Your commission isn't salary.
No.
Your commission is 20% of that salary, and the rest goes into the machine.
You're $0 every day unless you go create something. If you're not bleeding out of your fucking eyes, like literally every single day working 15, 16 hours, then to me you're just not made for this business.
Absolutely.
Now, and I know TF, our boy TF, would say, oh, you gotta have the work-life balance, all this stuff. I just completely disagree that in the first 2, 3, 4 years that you're gonna have the audacity to go and have ice cream cones on a Sunday afternoon with your family. Like, I just don't think you can. I really don't think you can. I mean, I haven't been able, building I wasn't able to do that in the beginning. It's just, I don't know how you scale and get to a place where you can actually start to enjoy some of the fruits of your labor without putting in the work.
We're going through a transition now, myself and my wife Teresa. We've been there, in the beginning. It was very, very difficult for us actually to even get licensed. This is just so this might seem like such a weird thing, but and this is, I believe that if you see something for yourself in your life, and if you're willing to put the work in, then opportunities arise. And I wanted to be an agent so bad, and we didn't have the money for me to actually become an agent, and I didn't even know how much it cost, to be honest. But I basically got my license, and then I realized that to actually join the board, it was going to cost me like $1,000 or $1,100 or something, and I just didn't have it. So the reason that I joined the board in February of 2015 was I was actually licensed in November, in 2014, I believe, but it took me that long to get the money together. But I wanted to be an agent so bad. I actually had a Breitling watch that was given to me for my 21st birthday, and I went into a pawn shop, and I was very close to pawning that watch to, just to pay my MLS dues. I don't know how this even came to me, but I ended up setting up this little drop shipping deal with, I found this, my dad's into flying model airplanes, and I came across this website that had these really cheap model airplanes for sale on the internet. They were like a Chinese import. So what I did was I basically took their product from this individual website, and I listed that product on eBay for basically double the price. But people would buy that model through eBay. They would pay me through PayPal, so I would receive the money, and then I'd go right onto that website, and I would order that model. I might receive $175. I'd buy it for $100, and I'd basically get it shipped to them as a gift from that website, and I would collect the 75. And it took me it took me a couple of months to save up the money to become an agent. But when I actually became an agent, it was crazy, and me and Teresa literally lived off nothing but cereal for weeks. It was bad, and in fact, this is actually really funny as well. I got involved in a prior business. I actually had somebody that didn't pay me for some services that we'd supplied. I used to have a commercial property maintenance company, and there was this lady that didn't pay me, and I ended up having to take her to a small claims court, and then she ended up being forced through the courts to pay us. But we'd essentially put a lien on her property during the process, and it wasn't a lot of money. It was like $500 or something. But what actually happened during that time, while me and Teresa were living off cereal for all that time, she tried to sell her business, and we still had this lien on her property. So she basically got in touch with us, or her business broker got in touch with us, and she was like, there's this company that you had this problem with. They're trying to sell their company, and they said, but you've still got an outstanding lien. We understand that it's been settled, but they said if you basically write an affidavit that says that this lien's been settled, we'll send you a gift card for a restaurant. And I was like, oh, that's great. So and this is obviously there was some bad blood between us because we'd won this lawsuit. But she so we wrote this affidavit, sent it over to them, and then we basically got given a gift, like a $25 gift card for Bob Evans. It was and we'd been living off cereal, and I called Teresa and I was like, Teresa, we've got a real treat tonight, and literally I got this gift card and I went home, and then me and Teresa just got straight in the car and went straight to Bob Evans and literally spent this $25 gift card, and that was probably one of the best meals that we've ever had. I'm telling you, it was awesome. So I mean, it was hard for us in the beginning, but you make
That's
it work.
ridiculous. What's your favorite cereal?
Actually,
I know now, right? Like,
That's funny.
You're probably so sick of cereal.
No, actually, no. I mean, we relived that moment. I know, we love that. But I actually did a post on Facebook not too long ago, and I put, what is your favorite cereal? My Facebook absolutely blew up. I must have had like 100 comments. Yeah, it was awesome. But I mean, for me, I don't know, anything that's I don't know, like granola type. I don't know. I love.
You're trying to stay healthy with it still.
Yeah. I guess. We weren't
you were
eating that. Yeah,
you were on the sugar and water.
Teresa's a Lucky Charms kind of girl.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it was bad.
That's ridiculous. Who right now, in 2018, the summer of 2018, as we're wrapping up the summer, is to you the most influential person, the person that you're following and getting content from? Whether it's a book, an author, whoever, maybe your whoever.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody that's not
absolutely.
even that's nobody even knows.
Yeah, so I guess I follow the big names. I mean, Gary Vee is like I could get his name tattooed on my arm. Like I absolutely love his stuff. We've always based we've always loved Tim Smith in California, and I know that he's just a mega agent,
monster,
very very difficult to network with. I shake his hand every time I see him, and he probably still doesn't know who I am. And but we look at everything that company does, and we basically base our business on his business. So if you look at his website and our website, you're going to see a lot of similarities. And we actually use the same company that he uses. I know he uses Curator, and we use Curator as well. And it's that he's definitely a big influence on us. And there's a lot of agents that I just love throughout the ecosystem. Sometimes you feel like you're doing I'll feel like I'm doing well, in my market, and then I'll come here and it's just like reality check.
That's one of the best. That is when you come to these events. That's the best part, right?
Absolutely.
Like I was at a dinner the other night, and Doug entered. I'm going to butcher his last name, Edrington.
Edrington. Yeah.
From Chattanooga. He's sitting across, 500 plus transactions a year.
It's ridiculous.
Tom Toole and Compa and Christoph Chu is there, who's Christoph Chu, $1 million
Absolutely.
LA type of thing. The show, there was just Jill Biggs. There was just some real Treasure Davis, some real ballers at this table.
Yeah.
And I'm like looking around, I'm like, I don't even deserve to eat.
Absolutely.
All right? I don't even deserve to be
Absolutely.
sitting here.
Absolutely. I mean,
bring me the cereal.
I'll
have the cereal.
I know. That's right.
Don't bring me the halibut. I'll go for the Lucky Charms. We don't have that. All right, I'll just have a water. I'll just have a water then. This group is unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. I was sat next to this. Young blonde girl yesterday, and you just kind of. In fact, it wasn't. But I just kind of. Fired up a conversation with her, and it was like, what's your business looking like? She's like, yeah, I'm going to do 140 transactions this year, and I'm like, 140 transactions? Like, how, it's...
And you didn't even know her before.
It's just
that.
normal, I'd never seen her face before. I'd never seen her throughout the ecosystem, and it's just like...
You just bump into 150 transactions every time you're going down the hallway.
It's like normal.
Here,
yeah,
there, here, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it was interesting when they said in the room, so in America... What they said yesterday, right, was 43,000 agents out of the 1.3 plus million that are in NAR are doing 25 plus deals a year, but we had 10% of that 43,000 in the room.
Isn't that just crazy?
That is insane.
Absolutely crazy.
So it's by far just an amazing experience. What book right now do you think is by far a book that any real estate agent or entrepreneur needs to dive into? Okay,
so I've just made it a team standard, or
standard.
It's gonna be a standard. Like, you are not allowed on our team unless you win, unless I'm kind of going over in my mind, like, I want to develop a test to like make sure that they
actually
not just read it but understood it, and just it's a classic, how to win friends and influence people. I literally
great.
read it like I read it every year. year, and I just think that that's, you know, if somebody's in this business and not read that book, I would say that is the fundamentals of dealing with people. You know, it just teaches you to be a nice person. But, you know, perhaps you know, something a little more, you know, what have I just read recently? I mean, I've actually just read The Conversion Code, and I did actually really enjoy that. Have you read The Conversion Code?
I have not read that.
It's a good book, actually. It's you know, there's a lot of really good stuff in there. You know, and it literally breaks down from, you know, you've kind of got a you know, lead generation. There's a big section on lead generation and a big section on lead conversion. I think if you was to take that book and Chris Smith.
Chris Smith wrote that.
Yeah,
yes.
he did. Yeah.
Actually, I think I have the book.
It's a good book. It's definitely one to read, and I did take a lot from that. But I mean, I love the classics. I love Think and Grow Rich. You know, I just like to read those same books over and over again.
I love it. Where are you going to spend your time over the next year branding yourself? Is it social media? Is it like just one specific platform? Is it going to be through your website? What are you focused on to build your brand over the next 12 months?
Yeah, that's a good question. So myself and Teresa are, you know, the way that we operate is I'm kind of the, you know, the sales force, if you like, and she's the back end marketing. Yeah, she's pretty much. So I just do as I'm told. So she's the one that puts all that kind of stuff together. But I just think that we need to come up with smarter methods to target the people that we want to target. And what I love where our brand is, you know, and I think that's, you know, what I want to develop processes so that obviously, you know, the reason that I'm really here today and the reason that I was up on stage was through going on a lot of appointments, and I'd really like to dive into that deeper and work out, you know, how we can make sure that, so when we have an appointment with somebody, how do we make sure that that person sees us everywhere? You know, and you know, I'd like to, you know, just you know, so just really focus on being, you know, I want them to see us on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram, and, you know, and I want them to, you know, see, you know, I just. And I think that's just really gonna help our conversion. Our conversion's good, but I also think that there's a lot of room for improvement there.
Dude, you've been an absolute open book, sharing. I mean, it's just unbelievable. So I really appreciate that. Why don't you let everyone know where they can connect with you, whether that's on social or if you just want to drop your website, whatever you want to drop.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, our website is RSTS Group, which is my initials, Ryan Skrzypkowski, and my wife's name's Teresa Skrzypkowski, so that's www.rstsgroup.com. And yeah, I mean, Ryan and Teresa Skrzypkowski on Facebook. It's facebook.com/Ryan and Teresa Skrzypkowski. I mean, we're pretty easy to find with this name. You know,
if you can spell it.
If you can
I'm glad you went with the RST group.
Well, RSTS.
RSTS.
Correct.
Group.com, because if you went with the last name,
it's not a great name for real estate, actually, is it? But I mean, so we definitely had to use our initials there. But
awesome, really appreciate you, brother.
Thank you.
Thank you. This
Byron,
was a lot of fun.
You're the man. Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it. Boom.